All right. So I've been kind of, what, already? I'm getting the sign to wrap it up already. That's my brother from my Bible study, too, by the way. Thanks, Steve. Anyway, I've been kind of dodging this a little bit for the past couple of years. And the reason is similar to a lot of the reasons out there for many guys out there just like me, is I didn't think my testimony is going to be that interesting. It's not really, that exciting. I was, when we immigrated from Egypt, my dad found the most conservative church in Colorado. It was the Nazarene Church, and that's where we went every Sunday to Nazarene. My sister and I were very much involved in the youth group, and we went to Wednesday night youth meetings and Saturday nights, and then we'd go out onto all the youth retreats. Also, additionally, is we would go to, so twice a month, there was a Coptic mass that was held in Denver, okay? A priest came in Coptic priest came in from either California or from Chicago. Now, we're not Coptic. My grandfather was a Methodist preacher in Egypt. He passed away before I was ever born, but we're Protestants. And I'd always ask my dad, why do we go to Coptic Mass? Well, Tark, most Egyptians, by the way, 80% of the Christians, Egyptians, which is about only 20% of the population of Egypt that is Christian, 80% of them are Coptic Christians, which is kind of like Greek Orthodox or Russian Orthodox. And we go to their mass, and he says, that's where the Egyptians are, that's where we were going, and that's where we're going to be. And you're going to take communion, and you're going to fast. Well, you fasted from midnight the day before all the way till you took communion. No eating and no drinking. So don't worry about getting a cup of coffee. 7 o'clock in the morning, we'd be in a car going to driving to Denver, and then we'd go up there for Coptic Mass. Additionally, I grew up, I went to school at a Christian school, okay? Emmanuel Lutheran, from 3rd grade to 8th grade. That was less of getting a Christian education and more that English was my second language, and I could barely speak English. Forget about reading and writing. I was in 3rd grade before they'd even start thinking about me learning how to read and write English. So so I was kind of in a backstop there, but they gave us additional classes. But being a part of a Christian school, it was for us, normal was going to, every Monday we said the Pledge of Allegiance. Every day we opened up class with a prayer. So being around Christ and being a Christian, is something very, very normal to me. I don't really know what it's like not being a Christian, okay? But, so what are we going to talk about here, okay? Oh, one thing I wanted to say. So when do I think first time I gave testimony where I really felt like I became a Christian? It was a Christian retreat. I was about 11 or 12. We went tobogganing, and we had worship classes at the end of the evening. And in the Nazarene church, this is with the Nazarene church, and with the Nazarene church, they would say, if you want to receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, if you have something to come, you come to the altar. So we went to the altar. So that I remember I did go to the altar that night at that Christian retreat, and I think that's when I can probably say, okay, I received Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior then. Okay. So, what are we going to talk about? Okay, so that's it. I've been a Christian my whole life. It's like I said, it's boring. But we're studying the book of James. My Calusa brothers and even at our Patriot group, we're studying the book of James. And in the first chapter in James, it says you will be tested. Okay, and that you have to go to the Lord and ask Him for wisdom. And if you ask with an open heart, He will provide you wisdom. And so that's what I'm going to share with you, is a time in my life when I've never shared this story with anybody. I haven't. It's a story about my. I share a lot of military stories with my buddies, and most of them are true. Okay. It just depends on how big the fish is, okay? And with my golfing buddies. But This story I don't share because of two reasons. One, in the big picture of it, it has no significance on my military career. It had very little significance on my military career. But, and the second thing is that I don't come out looking good in this one. Okay, I've done a lot of neat things in my life with my military, but I don't really share this story. There's only like 3 or 4 people actually that know it. One is Bob Casella, Major Casella, Ed, my brother-in-law, and that's about it. So this is actually an event that happened. This event begins. I was a ROTC cadet at the University of Colorado Springs, full ride scholarship. The most important event that is in the life of a cadet is between your junior and senior year. You're going to go to something called advanced camp. Okay, what is advanced camp? Basically, it's 5 weeks where you're being evaluated by an officer, an NCO from another school. Okay, they put a platoon together of 40 of your peers from all over the United States. It's held at Fort Lewis, Washington. And you are evaluated on the following tasks: leadership, military skills, physical fitness, and peer ratings. Now we'll talk about peer ratings. Peer ratings in the military are kind of neat, okay? Because they can either be very friendly or very cutthroat. Well, in this peer rating, it's pretty cutthroat, okay? The first you're going to do peer ratings twice there, and that's all 40 cadets will evaluate the other ones. You rank them from 1 to 39, but the first one is top third, middle third, bottom third. So you're going to put your peers in the top third, middle third, bottom third. The last peer rating, which is 1 week before you graduate, it's top 10%. That means the top four people from that 40-man platoon, bottom 10%, bottom 4 people from that 10-man platoon, the the next 30 underneath the top 10%, and then the next 50. Okay, there's a reason for that. The military wants to take the best, and at the end of that 5 weeks, okay, you will receive an evaluation. There's 3 scores you're going to get, or that you can get. You can get a 5. Okay, 5 is the top score you can get at advanced camp. And what does 5 guarantee you? Now you're in active duty. You are a cadet in the United States Army, and you want to go active duty and be a lieutenant in the United States Army. A 5 guarantees you active duty, branch of choice, and unit of choice. So you're golden. You've got everything that you want if you get a 5 at advanced camp. Okay? You get a 4, you're going to get active duty, you're going to get preference on unit of choice and branch of choice. Preference. At the end, when you get ready to graduate, you put together a dream sheet, and then the Army gets to put together what you want to do. So if you get a 5, you get everything you want, guaranteed. You get a 4, probably you're going to get a lot of what you want, okay? You get a 3, you get to pray a lot, okay? Because you get a 3 at advanced camp, this is what they guarantee you: absolutely nothing. The bottom third to the bottom half of the 3s at advanced camp will be sent to the National Guard or Reserve and will not get active duty, okay? It's all depending on Army requirements that year. If they need, 2,600 lieutenants and they got 4,000 lieutenants, guess what? There's 2,400 lieutenants that are not going on active duty, or 1,400 cadets. So that's what advanced camp is. Going to University of Colorado. University of Colorado at Colorado Springs had a great reputation, okay? We were a school that sent cadets that were well-trained, ready to go to advanced camp, okay? We were ready to go, okay? The reason is a couple of reasons. One was our cadre. Major Bob Casella and Sergeant Gary Adams were the NCOIC and OIC that were in charge of the MS3s, that's the juniors getting ready to go to advanced camp, and they trained us hard. In fact, those 2 individuals are probably the 2 individuals that had the most effect on my military career, and that's when I was a cadet, okay? So they were very special people to us. We had class twice a week, okay, ROTC class twice a week. We had Friday labs from 6:30 to 12. We did at a National Guard armory where we did PT and we did drill and ceremony. We learned about weapons, we did that. And then we had these volunteer weekend drills. Volunteer means you showed up, okay? for us, unless you had a darn good reason. And having a family and kids was not a darn good reason, because we had some that were prior enlisted that did that. You had to show up for those events. And that's where we did a lot of the marksmanship, land navigation, and stuff like that. Also, our location was ideal. We were in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We had the Air Force Academy just a few miles north of that, so we could use all their facilities, okay? The Air Force Academy had great land navigation courses. They had great obstacle courses. They had great LRC courses. We could use all their stuff. We had Fort Carson just a few miles south of us. They had great rifle ranges, so we spent a lot of time on their rifle ranges. We could go down range and do patrolling, work on our patrolling skills and stuff like that. So we had it pretty good at UCCS. We were in a great location. We had great cadre, and we were well trained. Okay, so the week after your spring semester, right before you go to advanced camp, after your spring semester of college, we had 1 week of training, and we were training for that week. And then the last day, Friday, they said they brought in 2 cadets to talk to the cadets getting ready to go to advanced camp. The 2 cadets were the ones the year before us. There's Ernie Erlandson and Mike Keitlinger. Okay, both of them had got 5s at advanced camp. And I remember Ernie saying this one thing. He said, listen, cadets, ladies and gentlemen, okay, if you want to get a 5 at advanced camp, the easiest way to get a 5 at advanced camp is you got to earn your Recondo badge, okay? Your Recondo badge is basically a competition throughout of 24 events while you're at advanced camp. And he goes, listen, you get your Recondo badge. He goes, not all people that get their all people that get their Recondo badge got a 5 at advanced camp, but you don't necessarily need to get a Recondo badge to get a 5 at advanced camp, okay? So I said, great. In my mind, I am going to get my Recondo badge, because I want to do active duty, I want to go infantry, and I wanted to go to the 101st. That's what I wanted. So anyway, 3 weeks go by, and it's my turn to go to advanced camp. You go to advanced camp, I meet 40 people, okay, about the size of this group, okay, of my peers, okay, from other schools all over the United States, and the 2 officers in charge of us are the captain. His name starts with an R. I don't remember his name. He's the OIC. The NCOIC was Master Sergeant Malloy. Okay, Master Sergeant Malloy is I know him. Okay, and he is the cadre from the University of Colorado up in Boulder. Okay, I'm down in Colorado Springs. He's in Boulder, and he knows me. Okay, and he knows me because I was in Ranger Challenge in ROTC. That's another competition event. If you want it, YouTube it. You can Google it. There's a lot of YouTube about Ranger Challenge. And UCCS competed against CU in regionals, and we've been beating their butts for the last 2 years. So he knew me, and hopefully this wasn't going to work against me. So anyway, the first day that you'd show up, it's called day 0, and you don't do anything that day. Basically, you're filling out paperwork. You're drawing equipment, okay, of things you're going to need for the rest of the time. And then you go around the room that evening, go around the room and you introduce yourself. And you're given basic introduction. Hello, I'm Tarek Mekhail. I'm from the University of Colorado Springs. I'm a geology major, and I want to go infantry. That's basically the introduction you're telling everybody, okay? This is important because you're giving information to your peers. Okay, and because one of the female cadets, she said, my name is, I don't know what her name was. She goes, she was from a university in California. I am a 4-year nursing student. So I'm getting specialized in nursing, and I want to work in pediatric medicine, and I want to go National Guard Reserve. So she just told us that don't worry about peer ratings for me because I don't want to go active duty. Okay, so she gave us information about her. So that's important. So that's day 0. Day 0, we don't do anything there. Day 1, game on. Okay, but I know you're there with your other cadets and your other peers, and you got to work together. But also understand, you're competing against them. okay? We're all competing for a grade at the end, okay? So the first thing that we're gonna do there is take a PT test, physical fitness test. Push-ups, sit-ups, 2-mile run, okay? This is my event. If there was any one of those 24 events and they said, okay, Tark, pick one that you're gonna frickin' do great on, and that's it, boom. Believe it or not, back then, I was Studley. Stop laughing, okay? I've got all the badges and the tabs to prove it, okay? No, so the PT test, that was it. That was it for me. It was pretty simple, okay? I mean, in Colorado, I'm taking a PT test in Washington. I'm doing PT in Colorado. It's from 6,000 feet elevation to 0. There's a lot more air down there in the Washington state. So anyway, I'm excited and I'm pumped, okay? And they get us out for force formation, 6:30 in the morning. They fall us out, we fall in, I run to front of the line. I'm gonna be the first one in the push-ups, okay? And I come up on it. Now the people giving us the PT test are reserve drill sergeants, okay? And I don't know what state they're from, but they're reserve drill sergeants. I said, okay. And I walk up, said, come forward, walk up, said, morning, Sergeant. And he looked at me and said, that's drill sergeant to you, cadet. And I was like, sorry, Sergeant, we'll never make that mistake again, okay? I get down and I go do push-ups and they cost 2 minutes, boom. I can't hear his count. I don't know what his count is because I can't hear it, because everyone in the back of the line, Steve's gonna nod his head when he sees it, is yelling at you. You suck, do more, come on, give us some more, let's get, and I'm just knocking out push-ups through the whole time for the full 2 minutes. You're sitting there, you go until 2 minutes. The only thing I heard was 10 seconds, because they do a countdown. 10, 9, so now I'm knocking in my last 2 or 3 push-ups that I got. 8, 7, 6, boom, I get up, said, hooah, and went to the back of the line, got ready to do sit-ups. We did the sit-ups. Now sit-ups, I know I maxed, okay? Because before we got to the 2 minutes, he said, stop, get up, you're done, okay? So I knew I maxed the sit-ups. The 2-mile run, we come up in 2 miles. So there was 4 of us that were running in a pack, at the front of the pack, okay? I usually ran, at that time, sub 12-minute 2 miles, okay? So that's quick. 12:36 is max. So there was 4 of us that running near the front, okay, or running in the front, and we weren't racing each other, we were pacing each other. We wanted to make sure we came in for a good time. All right, boom. Came in, and I knew it was we maxed it because they said it was 11. All I heard was 11. So, okay, that's good. It's under 12. We're good. Great. We're done with the PT test. Everybody's back in formation. We're standing there. We're all happy. Everything's going good. Master Sergeant Malloy comes up. He goes, okay. He's got the grade sheets in his hand. He walks away. What's going on? And to be honest, I was not even oblivious of anything going on. I didn't care. I did great. I wasn't worried about a thing, okay? He walks over to some drill instructors and then walks back. As he's walking back, he yells, Mekhail, meet me in the back of the formation. Okay? Go into the back of formation, run to the back of formation. Cadet Mekhail reports as ordered. At ease. Boom. I'm thinking I maxed the PT test. I mean, I've come close a couple times. I mean, my average score was 295, 296. I mean, I've come close to maxing it several times. And I thought I maxed it. And he goes, Cadet Mekhail, you failed the PT test. That's impossible. How could I fail the PT test? That's impossible. And he goes, yeah, you failed the push-ups. You did 35 push-ups. Sergeant, Master Sergeant Malloy, that's impossible. Let's go talk to that drill sergeant that did that. He goes, no, you failed the push-ups. That's what's on the score sheet, and that's what it is. And you can take the makeup PT test in 2 weeks, fall back in formation. Master Sergeant Malloy goes to the front formation. He goes, okay, we did pretty good as a platoon. We had 1 failure. Everyone else passed. And so we're good. Gentlemen, I was devastated. I was beyond devastated. Forget the Recondo badge. That's dead and gone. It's never going to happen. Okay? My military career is done. Let me explain this to you. I am number 40 of 40. I'm the only one in my platoon that failed the PT test. I was angry. I was upset. I ain't proud of this, but I swore. I swore at the Lord. How could you do this to me? I'm a good kid. I listen to my parents. I don't drink excessively. I don't do drugs. We all drank in college. And it was legal back then, 18 and over in Colorado. So I would, how could you do this to me? I had a peer come up to me later on that day and say, hey, don't worry about it. You'll get it on the next try. Now, this guy looked like the Pillsbury Doughboy, okay? What I said was thank you. What I wanted to say was my failing score of 269 is 50 points higher than your passing score, okay? But I didn't. And oh, by the way, I do hold the record in ROTC for the highest failing score, okay? It cannot, it can, every 3 to 4 years, every 7 to 10 years, my ROTC detachment UCCS gets together for a reunion, and Major Casella reminds me that every time that we meet. He says, you had the highest failing score in ROTC, and oh, by the way, it can't be broken. It can only be tied. And this is the last chance for cadets to tie it this year, because next year there's a new PT test that they're taking. The Army has a new PT test. So anyway, let's get back on track. Okay, I failed the PT test. There was a lot of bad thoughts going through my mind the rest of that day and the next day. That day, those 2 days are days to me. I didn't remember. First of all, what was I going to do with the rest of my life? Okay, when I got my ROTC scholarship, the goal was to become a second lieutenant in the United States Army. That was the only goal, okay? I mean, I wasn't really getting a real degree. I mean, I wasn't getting an engineering degree. I wasn't getting an accounting degree, okay? I was getting a degree in geology, rocks for jocks, okay? And oh, by the way, I was taking, geology classes that was, leading to a degree, like petroleum geology, where I could work for Chevron at some point in life, okay, once I got a master's degree. No, I was taking ice and snow because I knew those professors, and they were going to give me good grades, okay? I mean, to be honest, I did not know what I was going to do with my life. It is the first time in my life I can ever remember where I feel the Lord had left me, the Lord had let me down. I was mad at the drill instructor. I was mad at myself. The one thing I always go back to is maybe if I would have slowed down and tried to listen to his count, that I could have pressed out some better push-ups or something to make sure the count got better, but never thought of that. So anyway, I was completely depressed for a day and a half, and my peers knew it, okay, and they were trying to bring me up, and my cadre knew it. Master Sergeant Malloy and the captain were, in fact, Master Sergeant Malloy on day 2 was walking around, and he hit me a couple times and says, you better get your attitude up. You better start, thinking like a cadet. And I was like, okay, thank you, Master Sergeant, I'll do it. Yeah, it wasn't happening. So the next day we fall out for PT, okay? We fall out for PT, and Master Sergeant Malloy says, we're going to do something different today, okay? Cadet Mekhail, you're giving PT today, okay? That's not the way it normally is done. Usually the person who is in the platoon sergeant position gives the PT that day, but I didn't care. I could do PT, and I could, conduct PT. That was very easy for me. That's something I was very comfortable with. He goes, Sergeant Adams from your school is over there, and he's waiting for you, and he wants to talk to you. He goes across the quad, go run to him, then come back and get this PT on the go. So I run over to Sergeant Adams. Cadet Mekhail reports as ordered. Now he puts me at parade rest, okay? Parade rest is a modified position of attention. That means the conversation is going one way, him to me. I say nothing, I do nothing. Now Sergeant Adams was not a yeller, was not a screamer, but he had a voice, and he was about an inch taller than me. He talked to you, and he was about this close to me. And right next to Sergeant Adams was this big, humongous African-American man. He was the Command Sergeant Major. He had Command Sergeant Major written on his PT uniform. And the guy had arms on him like I have thighs, okay? Huge, huge dude, okay? Just a big, bulky guy. And Sergeant Adams basically told me, you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in your training. You got to believe in your faith. You got to believe in God. Now, Sergeant Adams is a Christian, okay? I knew he was a Christian. How do I know he was a Christian? When they first showed up at the University of Colorado, his wife Mary was pregnant with their second child, and after 2 months, their child passed away. They called it crib death. I don't know what that means, and we didn't know what that meant at that time. We went to the funeral of that baby, and at the gravesite, Sergeant Adams, tearing up, having a hard time speaking, got up and basically said that sometimes good things happen to good people, and that, it's your faith in God that continues to make you march on. So he knew I was a Christian. I knew that he was a Christian, and he led me to believe in myself a little bit more. Anyway, I run back to the formation. On the way back to the formation, halfway there, Master Sergeant Malloy stops me. Okay, great. Yes, sir, Master Sergeant. He goes, this is what I want you to do. I want you to stretch out the platoon really well, and then I want you to smoke them. Smoke them? Yeah, I want you to bring death and destruction on their bodies. I want you to make them feel so bad by the end of the day that they can't move. Okay. I told you about this peer rating thing, okay? I smoke them, they're going to smoke me on peer ratings, okay? People don't like to get smoked, okay? People that are normal people don't like to get smoked. You go to a Ranger regiment, they want to get smoked every day, okay? Completely different people, okay? All right, so we get in there, and dudes, we did, gentlemen, we did every kind of push-up you could think of. We did regular push-ups, we did wide arm push-ups, we did diamond push-ups, we did elevated push-ups, we did resisted push-ups. You ever done resist push-ups? That's where the guy is pushing up and someone else is pushing down on you. That's a lot of fun, a lot of fun. And when we weren't doing push-ups, we were doing crunchies, we were doing flutter kicks, we were doing squat thrusts, we were doing, there's a really fun drill where you lift your legs 6 inches, hold it there for 20 seconds, spread them out for 20 seconds, put them back together. Yeah, Rich is smiling. Okay, go up to 12 inches, spread them out. If you ain't burnt by the time you're done, you're done. You obviously are in a state of. Anyway, I did that, and then we went on the run. And on the run, you call cadence, okay? And it's a 4-mile run. They chose the run. I didn't choose the run. They chose the pace. I don't choose the pace. And so we went on the 4-mile run, and you're calling cadence. Now, usually you run about a mile, and someone comes and relieves you from calling cadence, okay? Not that day. I called cadence for all 4 miles, okay? And oh, by the way, Sergeant Major was doing PT with us that day. They dismissed the platoon, okay? We got done. I put the platoon back, stretched them out, dismissed the platoon. Sergeant Major grabs me, okay, and this is what he said to me. He said, young man, I just saw what you did, okay? You did a good job. You can't change the past. You need to drive on, and you need to keep going, okay? That was one of the best PT sessions I've had in a long time. Thank you very much, and went on, okay? So the next 4 to 5 weeks went better, okay? They couldn't go much worse, but they went better, okay? They went a lot better, okay? So we are coming up on graduation, okay? 1 week out, 2 days out from graduation, we're going to get our evaluations. 3 guys that were going to get 5s was Eddie Pasqua, Neil Fitzpatrick, and Dave Brown. They were all studs. We all knew that they were going to get the 5s. I wasn't sure who the 4th guy was going to be, but I'm praying for a 4. I am here saying, God, please give me a 4. I want to go active duty. That's all I want. First name that's called out was Eddie Pasqua. Eddie Pasqua was a great American. He went armor. He retired lieutenant colonel of the United States Army. Okay. The next one that came up was Neil Fitzpatrick. Neil Fitzpatrick went aviation. He's changed courses midstream in his career as a captain, became an ORSA, operational research. And me and him served together at MacDill Air Force Base. And we both went to each other's retirement ceremonies a year apart. Okay. Retired colonel. Okay. The next, Dave Brown. Dave Brown was, he went armor, okay? Our careers did not cross ever again. He had a different leadership style than I did. He was a very quiet guy, more of an introvert, but he was very, very intelligent, and he wrote one of the best operation orders at advanced camp that I remember. So the third name that was called was, the first one was Ed, then Neil. Third name was called was Tarek Mekhail. Wow. How can that be? It's not actually fair to the other cadets. Let's be honest. 80% of my platoon went through all of ROTC, or all of advanced camp, passing everything first time. I didn't. Okay, I failed the PT test. I was praying for a 4. And I finished number 3 in our platoon. Someone needs to explain that to me. It wasn't my doing. I mean, I gave it all. I gave it my best. But, so my prayer of getting a 4 was not answered, okay? My prayer was just to get a 4. I ended up getting a 5. That blew me away. And that's the first time that I realized God does not give you what you want. He gives you what you need. He's always there for you to receive what you need. And this event had an impact on me for the rest of my life, but mostly the rest of my military career. That even when you're not going to get what you want, God is going to be here, and Jesus Christ is going to come there and take care of you and fulfill you from the inside. There are a lot of bad things that have happened throughout, or there are a lot of tests that have happened much after that in my military career. On March 8th, 1988, I was the XO of Bravo Company, 2nd of 502nd Infantry, and we had a mid-air collision. And 18 soldiers of the 101st died that day, and 12 of them were mine. One of my squads died in that. 4 of my soldiers were married, and 3 of them had kids. And Sergeant Shirley, the squad leader, had 4 little daughters. The oldest one was probably 8. The youngest was probably 2. And at those points in my life, when bad things happened, especially in the military, I had to rely on God, because He was there for me, and He's there for us. Thank you, gentlemen, for giving me time to share this, and I'd like to pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank You for this day. We thank You for these men. We thank You for being a great and gracious God, for being there in our times of need, in our times of trouble, and caring for us, and bringing Your wisdom and Your wishes and Your will upon our lives. We lift up all these men in this group and this church, and we lift up all those that are afflicted with pain right now. We also ask for a peaceful resolution to a lot of the chaos that's happening around the world right now, especially in the Middle East. And we remember our Israeli brethren these days. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.